All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So in this one, I wanted to really focus in on the top three priorities that I feel as though the Jets and Joe Douglas need to really hit out of the park here. They have to figure out these three things. And I would love to hear yours down below in the comment section. I feel like the Jets can go down so many different avenues this offseason. It's really going to be intriguing to see how this whole thing plays out. But again, I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let's start with number one here. It's offensive line. It's the offensive line. I think right off the bat, the Jets have the most question marks at this position, right? We have question marks regarding starters. We have question marks regarding backups. We have question marks regarding long-term building blocks. We have guys coming back from injury. There's a lot here, right? There's a lot here. And it's not like the Jets are like the Commanders with $70+ million in cap space to where we can just start throwing out contracts left and right. We're sitting right now around that $16 million range. Now, of course, that number's going to change based off of guys taking pay cuts. Maybe we see some surprise releases, maybe even some contract restructures. Who knows what exact moves that Douglas is going to make right by the dollar, but we do know that we should have enough to at least attack the offensive line in free agency and get some solid upgrades. If you take a look at some of the bigger numbers, right, the bigger rankings where the Jets fell this season, like 29th in points per game, they were last in touchdowns per game, last in the red zone, last on third downs, but specific stats and rankings that are tied to offensive line, like quarterback sack percentage, we were 29th in football. We averaged 0.4 rushing touchdowns per game, so less than half of one rushing touchdowns per game, right? So the idea here, the beauty of offensive line, when you upgrade at that spot, whether we're talking tackle, guard, left side, right side, starters, backups, when you upgrade in the offensive side of the trenches, I mean, it's really like three birds with one stone. Of course, the obvious one, you're giving your quarterback more time to throw. You're alleviating pressure off of him in the pocket, right? So that's the first clear one. Number two, you're going to be helping out in the running game, right? If the Jets can actually get a running game going this season, feed Breece Hall a little bit more than they did throughout the course of the regular season. Not in the last week, because however many carries he got, like 30 something. But theoretically speaking, you're going to be giving your quarterback more time to throw the football, taking pressure off of his shoulders. You're going to be giving running backs more running lanes to run through, or at least more aggressive at the point of attack, to where you're not getting, we're not seeing defensive linemen and linebackers just rip right through, and we're seeing lots of -1 carries or gains for no yards, right? So two great areas that the Jets desperately need help in. And then, of course, number three, you're helping out wide receivers, because if the quarterback has more time to throw because of the protection being better up front, wide receivers now have more time to get open, right? Find soft spots in zones, work one-on-one against corners. Whatever the case is, the offensive line has got to be addressed this offseason. And look, it's no secret, right? We all know this. Every fan of football knows that the Jets offensive line performance last year was horrid. Going into 2024, as of right now, it's looking really bad if we just didn't do a single move there, but clearly that's not going to be the case. So I think because offensive line impacts so many different areas of the game week in, week out, it has to be the number one priority. It absolutely has to. Okay, so next up at number two, I'm going to go backup quarterback here. I feel like this is so important for the New York Jets that it has to be addressed in the first couple of days of free agency. Now, you don't really see veteran backup quarterbacks sign really in like the first couple of waves of free agency. You typically see them start going off the board after the big names are gone, after, the big contracts have been spent, after the dust has settled a bit. But for the New York Jets, because it's so important, again, because we have questions on the offensive line, because Rodgers is 40, because Douglas and the Jets, they packed it in after week one when Rodgers got hurt. I mean, it really seemed like the organization acted like the season was over once Rodgers went down. Clearly, they didn't have another, consistent option back there that they felt great about between, Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle. It just seemed like an up and down roller coaster with not a lot of ups. We need to be in a situation where if Rodgers goes down, we have a quarterback in place to where the offense can still move the ball effectively, right? I mean, last season was an embarrassment. We had announcers, we had media members clowning the Jets, joking around when they would score a touchdown. They finally did it. They finally did it. No, it's not going to happen this year. It's not going to happen. And granted, it's not just all on the quarterback a season ago. Coaching, in my opinion, had a major part in that. But the bottom line is, when this free agent window opens up, one needs to be signed. And the beauty here, typically they're cheap right off the bat. But then number two, there's so many of them that are going to be available. Pick your take your pick. Who do you want? Like off the top of my head, Marcus Mariota, Tyrod Taylor, Ryan Tannehill, Jameis Winston, Gardner Minshew. There's going to be a lot out there. Okay, so it's not like we're shooting for that one player. Oh, he signs. No other options, right? Unfortunately, tackle is looking pretty thin. There's some positions out there that are going to be looking really thin. Backup quarterback, not one of them, right? Andy Dalton, I feel like could be a solid veteran option. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But the last position group here on my list is wide receiver. Right now, I just actually did a video about my top 6 wide receivers that are set to hit the open market. Wide receiver is really, really important for the Jets this offseason. In my opinion, it's not as important as backup quarterback or offensive line. But man, we can't be in a situation where it's Garrett Wilson, where the Jets are and Aaron Rodgers. They're relying on Garrett Wilson and undrafted free agents. That's what it was last year. Randall Cobb didn't really do much. Alan Lazard didn't really do much. Unfortunately, he's getting paid a lot of money. But we have Jason Brown-Lee, Xavier Gibson. I like both of those guys, but if we're talking about a playoff mandate for the Jets this season, Rodgers coming back, I don't want to just put all of our chips into Gibson, Wilson, and Brownlee. But I do really, really like those guys, and I'm excited about their future. Much like backup quarterback, though, there's going to be plenty of options. T. Higgins, Hollywood Brown, Mike Evans, Tyler Boyd. There's Calvin Ridley's probably, he's one of my favorites. I feel like the Jets have got to be interested in Calvin. His route running ability gets me fired up. DJ Chark is another one. OBJ, there's plenty of names out there, plenty of guys that the Jets could target. I think we, at the end of the day, will be fine. But it's still a priority nonetheless. I know there's a lot of Jets fans that want to target Malik Neighbors out of LSU, Romo Dunze with that 10th overall pick. So we got options here. I think at the end of the day, the Jets will be fine. But I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. Where do you stand? What positional groups do you think are top priority? I would include coaching into this mix, but it just doesn't really seem like the Jets are going to do a single thing. Right, they're not going to add somebody or anything like that, which is, in my opinion, pretty unfortunate. But anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Jets.